All right, today we're going to talk about how to inspect the fuel oil transfer system. And we're going to first find the fuel transfer system, look for leaks, potential leaks that could be harmful and hazardous to us, and also any exposed electrical wiring for the electric pump. So one of the first things you want to look for is the fuel transfer system layout. So every vessel is going to be required to have a diagram. So here on the wall, you'll see the diagram of the piping system posted. You also need to have transfer procedures on how to properly operate the system, which you'll find right here, oil transfer procedures. All right, so when inspecting the fuel transfer system, you want to look at the piping, ensure that it's all intact. Again, you want to look at the strainer, the fuel filtering system. Typically, one of the issues that we find commonly is that this drain plug here is plastic, whereas it should be metallic, depending on the requirements of the type of vessel and the type of fueling system that's required here. There may be a manifold system as well for storage tanks, where we will be able to control which tank we're going to pull fuel from to transfer to their day tanks. That's going to supply their main propulsion engines, diesel generators, and auxiliary equipment. So on some larger vessels, it may be required by class or international regulations that they have shields, splash shields, or drip pans. So just depending on what's required, you will see shields and stuff, and that's to prevent fuel oil spraying and creating a fire or a flammable atmosphere. So when inspecting fuel oil transfer systems, you're going to find non-metallic flexible hoses. These are built to specifications. They have specified connection joints. So just depending on what type of vessel determines what requirements have to be met. Now, for certain smaller vessels, you may have non-metallic flexible hose connecting the fuel tank to metallic portion of the deck or of the vessel. And the reason for that is just to provide some flex, so that if you had a metallic pipe, it wouldn't crack or break. However, if you have the non-metallic fuel hose there, you need to ensure that it's bonded so that you don't create a potentially static electricity, which may cause a fire. So on smaller vessels with smaller fuel systems, you may find let's say on a small passenger vessel, you'll find outboard engines, and then you'll find a portable fuel system. So the items you want to check there is that it's the right type of system, the right type of tank, the right type of hoses that they're using in that system. And you want to look at the condition of the rubber hoses or non-metallic hoses. Just look at the general condition and the fittings just to ensure that it's all good. So on some of the larger vessels, you're going to find that they'll have some type of alarm so that they don't overfill their fuel tanks. So in a fuel transfer system, we're going to have a cutoff valve so that we can prevent overfilling the tank. Now, the valve will be local, but we'll have a reach rod or we'll have a pull cable that you can pull or that you can reach from out on deck. In this example here, they have the pull cable that goes through the pipe all the way up to the main deck. And once they pull that handle, it will actually activate this valve and close it. On some larger vessels, you're going to find an overpressure valve relief. That's to protect the fuel pump and will basically recirculate the fuel back into the tank. Okay, so out on deck, you're going to find some this equipment here that pertains to the fuel transfer system. Here's your fuel fill pipe, and it's also a fuel discharge pipe. You'll find flame screens on the gooseneck vents here. So the flame screens are to prevent the fire or ignition of vapors from the tanks. You'll find this containment area here to prevent, if there was to be a spill, it could contain it. And then you'll find a little drain plug here, and you want to ensure that it's always in place unless it's full of water from rain, as we got a couple inches of water in here in the moment, just so they can be able to empty out the containment area. So when inspecting the fuel transfer system, one important test to conduct is shutting off the fuel pump from a remote location, which is typically found here on deck. You want to make sure that you have effective communications, probably best to use radios, so that when they turn the fuel pump on, you can immediately hit the stop button to turn it off, because you don't want to run the pump for too long and burn it up or create a hazardous situation. All right, so in closing, when completing the inspection of the fuel transfer system, we've got to identify hazards, take caution, and use our proper PPE while inspecting the transfer system. We're going to look at transfer procedures, ensure that they're posted or they're available. We're going to look at the installation, look at the arrangements, the condition of the piping, the manifolds, vents, and strainers. We'll look at flanges and mechanical joints to see if they're fitted with shields and drip pans. Look at non-metallic flexible hoses and fittings. And we're going to look at the transfer pump and remote shutdowns and markings. We talked about remotely operated fuel oil system valves and portable fuel systems. We also discussed the alarms and means to prevent the overflow or the spillage. We also looked at shut-off valves and how to actuate them. And we discussed the relief valve service and locations. If was anything that we didn't cover or that you still have a question about, make sure you reach out to your verifying officer.